cell phones. Well, our cell phones at least are getting bigger and better, and so are the cameras. That does not mean, though, the pictures we're taking are getting any better. That actually takes a little skill. Professional photographer David LaBelle has some tips on how to make those pictures perfect.
See, the only thing you have to do is you sort of have to pretend like you like each other, you know? All right, last one, here we go. Smiling faces. Beautiful. Hi, welcome to the Great Picture Hunt. My name is David LaBelle. It wasn't that long ago, cell phones like this were novelty. You'd have like one-meg files, and you know, the pictures would be kind of grainy and a little bit noisy. Today, our technology has taken us to things like this. These are super cameras, 8-meg files. You can shoot great stuff. You can do HD video. You can change color to black and white. It's an amazing camera. I always tell people when I'm in this position, I said, if you have teeth, I want to see them here. Let's see. Got a good face again. Oh, great. We gotta have security, you know. I gotta find handsome people. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Back in good territory with doggy friends, you know. I was on the other side from it. Now, when you do this, the same principles of photography should always apply. You want to think about shooting overall pictures. I think you want to look at details. We want to think about timing. You have to see it coming and then be ready to fire. One more thing with this camera here is it has a built-in flash. We can actually pop a flash right out of this thing if we like. Pop one right here. Bam. Sometimes you want a picture of yourself. Hi, Mom. You know, you want to send something back home to prove you were someplace. You know, everybody wants a picture of themselves in front of a Camelback Ranch. You try that. Oh, I need to do it again. That will look too much like me. Hi. Yeah, that's pretty good. There's one more thing to think about when you talk about a cell phone. This technology is great, but it brings up some ethical issues. A phone like this is sort of inconspicuous. You can actually take a picture from down here. You can sit there and act like you're not looking and take a picture here, which means you got to be a little bit careful. Some people think that that's unethical, that you shouldn't take a picture of somebody without them knowing it. Other people think it's just part of candid photography. Quite frankly, I do both. One thing you don't want to do, you don't want to take this like into the men's room and put it under the stall. That's bad form. Here's the photos I took with my cell phone camera. You know, you can't tell the difference between these pictures and pictures that you would shoot with a DSLR. Photography is about the same thing. It's about lighting, timing, composition, and color. It never changes. I find, you know, you're the important one, not the camera.
For more tips from Dave, go to...
So, that gives you a little bit of fun thing. And you know, there's a lot to be learned by that short piece. The overalls, we're gonna go, if we have time, I'm gonna break that down again. I'm gonna go over timing, light, composition in depth. So those of you that care about photography even more than cell phone photography, then you're gonna probably enjoy that. But first, any questions about anything before we launch into this? All right, I always try to do a presentation, it's kind of like a guardrail, keeps me from going off the highway. So that doesn't, I don't want you to think that we have to be that rigid, that we have to stay with this, because we can do anything you like. Any questions that you have along the way? So we're gonna begin with the piece that I put just for this. And we put it. All right, how we looking? All right, I like to think it's the time to celebrate, right? You notice I put a question mark with this. This is one of my groups. Actually, this is one of my PJ classes when I was explaining to them how you have to make pictures with a cell phone, is that you have to anticipate something happening. And so, they're all jumping up in front of Starbucks. They weren't jumping for the sun because they haven't seen it for a while, but they were jumping. So, it's I happen to think that cell phones, what we call now smartphones, I think cell phone is probably almost an old term, isn't it? Because now we always use the term smartphone, because you're going to be hooked to the internet. You're going to be able to transmit images if you want. We have recorders. My phone has a recorder and a voice recorder. There's all kind of tools that they have within them. So it is a good invention. One of my classes early, a couple of years ago. Now, you notice this, that it's hard to go anywhere. I remember a couple of years ago, well, maybe 5 or 6 or 8 years ago, when I was at Kentucky, I gave an assignment. I said, see if you can get a picture of 2 people in the same frame with a cell phone. Because it was just starting. And I thought, it's kind of a phenomenon. Now I give an assignment and say, see if you can get a picture where there's not somebody with a cell phone. Probably can't do it. Notice this is an airport. Look at it. If you start looking at all the people and all the things that they're all doing here, and you see that they're not really interacting, but they're all on a device. Now I got to admit, it is a great way to connect with friends. You see, one of my friends, Luther, he's an interesting character. A lot of fun. Now, you're going to see something here. So we say, look on Facebook. There we are, see? And then we say, can you say biscuit? There we go. There's another one. Now you're going to see a trend here really quick. Oh, look again. Oh, it's me again, right? And it's me again, you know? And then it's me, right? And that's when I look at Facebook so much, I find that people, they really enjoy sharing about them. You know, I'm eating this biscuit. Here's a plate of food I had. I'm at McDonald's right now. Now I'm going to Dairy Queen and I'm doing this. And I say, why do people do it? I don't know, but they want to share. So, it's more than just a device though. I found that it's more than a device. And you guys, we're seeing that more all the time. Now in 2004, the world kind of changed. It's almost like a tidal wave. It's like the thing happened, you know, like an earthquake under the ocean. It happened and we didn't really see it, we didn't really feel it for a while. But after a while, all that power started pushing this giant wave, and it came ashore like a tsunami. It came on the shore like this. One of the most powerful pictures to be taken in the last 20 years. Shot with a cell phone. Not even a smartphone, a cell phone. You know, this is before we had the technology that we even have now. And it was circulated all over the place. Here's the original. Now, this is the crop version that CBS ran. You know, it's not going to be nearly as sharp. Here's the original. Notice the guy on the right, he's still saying, well, I want to get a picture too, but I got to figure out how this thing works, you know? And so he's trying to get his camera adjusted while this guy's lit up there like, you know, got electrical wires to him. Now, so here's some more images from that. I remember what a guy once told me, and he was telling me a positive. He said, if it's not on paper, it doesn't exist. And that's probably true to some degree. Now we say, if it's electronic, if you've typed it, if it's in your email, if it's on your cell phone, it exists. It exists somewhere. So you think about, what am I writing? What am I saying? What am I communicating to somebody? Because somebody's going to see it. I don't think they had any idea the ramifications, the fallout that was going to happen from these pictures. Life changed for a lot of people in 2009. Most of us remember that picture, this picture. Remember when the U.S. Air jet went into the Hudson Bay? Now, jets have landed before, although this was an incredible one, nobody really got hurt. But what was incredible about it from a publishing standpoint, as far as I know, it's the first time that a cell phone picture was used across the front page of a newspaper. And I think it was the Washington Post and New York Times. They ran that thing full, it was a cell phone picture, and we went, uh-oh, life is changing. So now suddenly we have citizen journalism, because everybody who has a cell phone, everybody who has a smartphone is now a journalist, in a sense, right? You can see something, you can record something, you can share something, and you can do it immediately. You know, when I was growing up, they said never argue with anybody who buys ink in barrels. Remember hearing that? That means, you know, don't mess with the press, because these guys are powerful. But that changed with the smartphone. Because now you have the barrels. Now you have the ink. You have the power. You ever think about it? What if you could make a nuclear bomb? What if you could go in your backyard and, you know, maybe you do it in your garage where nobody sees what you're doing, and you could make a nuclear bomb? Ooh. Think about the responsibility of that. What would you do? Now that I've done this, would I sell it? Would I guard it? Would I? Oh boy. I imagine Einstein just probably drove him nuts. Well, we're not that far-fetched. It changed photography forever. How many of you know this story? Anybody remember the story of this young lady? Beautiful young lady in Iran. Kind of a civil protester. I mean, that was kind of her background a little bit. You know, she liked to, you know, she wanted to go out and march and tell people she didn't agree with government, things like this. So in 2009 of June, she was out, and this picture was made. It was pulled probably from a video. Let me show you part of that, if I might. Let me see if I can minimize this for a second. I'm going to escape this just for a moment. And I want to go back to this because I want you to see this right here. Because this was truly one of those things that changed the world.
Jeff can only meet from 8 to 11. Hey, stop! We're trying to figure out when we can get together to work on our class project.
Yep.
The only problem is you have to listen to this stuff first. Hey. Oh, I'm not going to stop it here. I don't have a television. I don't watch TV, and yet I still have to watch these ads on my computer. Come on. I'm waiting 3 seconds. Didn't do it. Sorry?
Stop looking on that, just what you have on that. Go to the next thing.
I'm sorry. Just click back on this.
No, don't click on that.
I'm gonna go back to this.
Wait, let me try, hang on.
This is why we have people smarter than me at this. We hope.
It's gonna have to play the ad probably again, but.
Oh, I
it got
cut the
first.
ad off 30 seconds early.
Yeah, so give it 13 seconds, and then it should play.
This is more pleasing. I like to hear this one.
Too. Guaranteed to get your motor running. Whether you're into planes, trains, or automobiles, visit
I saw that.
dky.com.
Okay, now, the reason I showed you that was because I wanted to make the point that how you see how different life, became in the United States, particularly with that. Oh, I hope this works. Let's go. We're back on, I think. Yeah, just because this video, once it was shot of this young woman who was protesting against the president there in Tehran. They ended up making this video. She died, and they posted this online. They put it in YouTube, and it went viral like in a matter of minutes. It went all over the world in seconds. It was that's why I use the analogy sometimes of an atom bomb, because it can be like an atom bomb. It went out there and it exploded, and then what ended up happening is people responded to it, and they were angry with it, and they put the pressure on the government with it, and it showed you the power of social media. Totally changed it. Most of you have probably read about the Arab Spring. Arab Spring was basically orchestrated via the internet, right? That's how we communicate. That's how we got together. That's how we put the pressure on certain people. And my point with saying all this is, with every privilege we have, there is a responsibility. People often say, what's the biggest difference you find in journalism today than when you started 40 years ago? I said, there's 2 things that I notice. One is, there's no filter. You would have an editor. You would have, whether it was a picture editor, whether it was a copy editor, you had sometimes a layer of editors, and those editors would look at what was written and say, whoa, wait a minute, we're gonna get a suit over this, or have you checked the facts on this? I mean, what, you only have one source in this story? What are you doing? We've lost that. There's no filter now. You can take a picture of your mother going to the restroom and put it on YouTube if you want to tomorrow, and it'll be all over the world. No one's gonna stop you. So, that's interesting. The other thing that was lost in journalism is time. When I was growing up, you had time. You work on a story, you had time. You had time to check and see if it was correct. You had time to go do multiple sources. You don't have time now. It's because we want to be first. We want to get it on the air. We want to get it out there. Maybe we got it wrong, but we were first. Okay, let's go forward. Part 2. As I said, with every privilege comes a responsibility. And technology is a cyber weapon able to save or to destroy. Now, here's the good and the bad news. The good news is that there is no place to hide, right? If you're one of the bad people, wanting to do bad things, we can find you. They can track you, right? but also the good guys can find you. This is just this is one page from Google. Girl jumps in front of subway to save cell phone. Well, maybe she got her priorities wrong. But then we got cell phone saves girl who fell in sinkhole. 3 lost girls use light up shoes to cell phone. Cell phones find young girls still missing. All of a sudden you realize that it can be a wonderful tool for good. We keep reading about stories that people that are able to track somebody they could not have tracked before. So that's a good thing. Now, talk about no place to hide. This is the current story, right? The current story in Boston. They confiscated, well, they didn't confiscate, they asked for as many cell phones as they could, video cameras, whatever they could find, so they could find the young men who were backpacks and who dropped the bombs. Isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing that within like 24 hours you figured out who did this? Now, it wasn't a cell phone. This picture isn't from a cell phone. It's from like one of those cameras that you end up at the department store or something. But it just shows you that everywhere you go, somebody is watching. Somebody can see you. As I said, that's a good thing and it's a bad thing. In this case, it's a good thing. So, let's talk for a second about safety. Let's say you lost your cell phone tomorrow. Would you panic? You'd say, oh my gosh, all my brains are in there, all my contacts in there, and all those love notes I wrote, and everything that I have is on that cell phone. And boy, if somebody finds this, they're going to find out. They're going to find my billing information. They're going to find everything that I have. Is that not true? Guess what? You worry about your social security number, worry about your cell phone. You lose that with everything in it. Somebody can track you very easily. People that are, that live that way, that like to cause trouble, they can do a lot of trouble. So there's a way. What you would have to do is figure out a way to disable that. And you can do that basically online. You can do it electronically. You can disable your phone if you lose it. You can stop it from sending information. You can block it from doing things. We don't have time to go through all that. I'm just saying, go online, look at your particular phone and say, how do I block this information? How do I stop it? That safety is really important. How many of you remember about, I guess it's probably been a month, maybe 2 months ago, the young woman, and I want to say she was in Spain, but I don't remember exactly where, but she was posting pictures of herself on Facebook. Pictures of herself at the beach, here's a picture, I'm going to the market, here I am in my bikini, and then she ended up dead. And you say, well, no wonder. Boy, if you're trolling Facebook, you're one of those creepers, you're thinking, hey, check it out, here's a girl telling me, she's giving me a path to find her. Tells me where she goes, tells me what she does, tells me when she shows up there, and she's going to be easy picking. And you know what? That does happen. So, when you were growing up, young women, they used to say, if you walk, don't walk alone, or don't walk the same path the same time every day, right? Don't walk from 6 in the morning to 7, change your route, alternate your times just for your personal safety. The same thing is true with cell phone stuff. If you're going to post pictures, think about where you're posting them. Think about what it reveals. Maybe you want to block that again too, because you can also block the signals. One of the things that happened with the cell phone photography, early on in war times, people were using cell phones to make pictures during the war. Afghanistan, Iraq, and some of the enemy was going, oh, this is good, thank you for pinpointing where you are. And then they realized, uh-oh, we're sending out a signal of where we are. Got to quit doing that. So, how about the ethics? Ethics to me is like, it's like jumping in a barrel of worms that just keep wiggling around you. You can never quite get out of them because you never can find the head of anything. It's a very difficult subject. But we want to at least talk in a cursory fashion here. There are things that are right and wrong. I alluded to that, right? To go in the men's room, to take that cell phone, to stick it under somebody's stall and take a picture, it's funny, but it's also wrong. And we're finding that people do these kinds of things. They use their cell phones or smartphones, and they make pictures of people, and then they post them in ways they shouldn't post them, right? And that's very easy to do now. Now, you'd think that people would think better. You're probably familiar with this. The 2 young men from Steubenville, right? If you're not from around here, maybe you're not familiar with it. 2 high school men, 2 high school young football players. They decided they were going to start partying with some girl, if you want to use that term. Basically, it was rape. So, I mean, that's already wrong. It's already kind of icky. But then they thought it would be really funny to take the pictures of them raping her in all this position and then posting them on Facebook and sharing them with all the world. There was just a story last week about a young woman who killed herself because somebody took a picture of her, the same situation, kind of a situation, at a party. She got drunk, they took pictures of her, put them on the line, and she killed herself because she said, my life is over. Folks, it's a reality. There's got to be some responsibility that goes with this. And I'm telling you, it's hard. I have young children. I have a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old. And it is a battle. It is a battle every day. It's a battle for their attention. It's a battle to monitor what they're looking at. It's a battle with the kind of friends they have. One of my youngest son left his Facebook page open, and his mom said, oh, she read all what these little girls are writing to him, and said, Dad, you're not doing that anymore. I mean, you know, so I'm just saying is it's too easy. And there are ethics involved. Now, this is a case that got even weirder. So not only did these football players they were charged and they were more than accused. They were convicted. I was looking for that word. They were convicted, but then following the conviction, look what else happens. 2 Ohio girls were arrested after making threats on Facebook and Twitter against a girl who was raped by 2 high school football players. So we've already done about as much evil as you can do, and so let's just add to it. Let's take young women and let's start bullying and threatening somebody else because they were going to talk against these guys. I'm telling you, this story, it just reeks. It's creepy on every side. It's creepy on the girl, it's creepy on the guys, it's creepy on the girls who threaten, it's creepy on the mother, it's creepy all the way around. It just stinks. The more you read it, the more you just get disgusted. All right, so now we go to the etiquette part. And as I said, there's not many things that trouble me like that. I'm actually very easy to get along with. I shot this week just because I thought, you know what, it's an indication. This is not meant to be a judgment, by the way. This is an observation. Here's a young man in a mall, and he's talking to his girlfriend. Well, that's cool. Isn't that great? You have the technology, you can sit in the mall, and you can go on your iPad, your iPhone, whatever you want, and then you can sit there and have a conversation with her. That is a really cool thing to do. Probably helps you not get too lonely. And then here's the old-fashioned way. Look at the faces. They're doing it the old-fashioned. They're like sitting together, talking to each other. You know? Different. If you are keeping track and reading the surveys, this is not just an opinion. Start looking through. I remember looking at the old Life magazines. And I remember the pictures of Ted Williams and guys. Remember they were holding cigarettes and smoking and saying, you know, camels are cool or Lucky Strike is cool. And then a lot later on they went, wait a minute, these guys are dying of lung cancer. Maybe it's not too cool. There is an issue right now. It is uncertain. If you talk to the cell phone companies, they say there's not any harm, there's no danger, it's not going to bother you one bit, doesn't put out enough radiation. Anybody who has a vested financial interest in them, don't believe them. Look at the source. If AT&T telling you that these phones are safe, don't believe them. Don't you remember the first rule of journalism when you went, if your mother says she loves you, check it out, right? That's the good rule. Don't listen to what people tell you. So, I'm just saying that they're talking about what it's doing to us socially, because we are now separated. What is it doing to us physically? We don't know yet. There's not been enough time, enough research to know what it is. The research seems to indicate that for young people it's not good because their skulls aren't as thick, and it seems to be able to affect them. We don't know that. We simply don't know. Just because someone's pouring it on us with money that we're buying all this stuff doesn't mean it's safe. I don't know. I'm just going to put out and say, please check it out and look at that society. Okay, that said, here are a few apps. Now, if you are particularly if you're, and I think you can do it now with Droid, but start off, if you were really an iPhone user, then Instagram is a pretty powerful tool, isn't it? It's not only, it's a pretty powerful tool financially too. But with Instagram, you can do all kinds of things. You can store stuff, you can talk to your friends, you can send pictures, it's a really cool app, and it's an inexpensive app. And it's the only thing is you're really connecting. It's almost like being connected to to another, to a Facebook or anything else. It's like a social site in a sense. It's not just an app that allows you to tone pictures or to change pictures. It does so much more, so much far-reaching. So, and then here's one that I happen to believe in, and that's called FilterStorm or FilterStorm Pro. Because what this allows you to do, FilterStorm allows you to do a lot of things, to edit really, but particularly you can put captions with your images. Sometimes people will shoot pictures in my cell phone class that I teach. I'll tell them, I said, because it's in journalism, I want you to apply journalistic principles. We're going to try to, see if we can apply AP style in our captions, which means you're going to have to be able to attach captions to your pictures before you send them to me or put them in Dropbox. And it's taken a while for all of them, but we figured out how to do that. FilterStorm seems to be the easiest and the best app to do that with. Allows you, again, editing, you can do a lot of stuff with it. Android has its version of kind of what we call Instagram, and that early on was kind of the retro app. So you could make these pictures look real old, like your grandma's pictures might have been, or great-grandmother's pictures, right? Now the Hipstamatic is another app, and it became real popular here. As you can see on this one, you don't want to read all this, but basically it tells you that it was like over 1 million things by 2010 happened. What it is really, it's an app that is primarily was made for the iPhone, but it changes things. It's a square. Your pictures are square. You can tone them differently. You can have a different feel to them. And one of the things that made it so popular was actually a guy that I know here, Damon Winter, decided that he was going to use his cell phone and this app in war, because the camera is it's inconspicuous. Easy to carry. It's not heavy. I can send stuff from anywhere. I can put together. He ended up doing a series of pictures with, at the time, it's almost like, I remember in 1969, a friend of mine did a story on birth, on natural childbirth, and people went, oh, natural childbirth, oh, they were at the paper. I'm like, I've never heard of it. Well, that's commonplace now. But at the time it was, it's sort of like this. It's like, oh my gosh, at the time this was a novelty, this set of pictures. And when you look at them, consider that this really is good. His compositions are good, his moments are good. He's looking at details. Going rather fast, but that way you get a sense for it. But these are nice images. It doesn't matter what you use. Whether you shot them on a 4x5, a film camera, a digital camera, or you shot them on your cell phone. The technology is such now that the cell phone, the file sizes in most of these cameras are 6 to 8 to 10 meg files. They've opened up, they're like 25 meg files. So there's plenty of integrity in the file now. It's just the delay, probably the biggest issue I have with them. Look at the timing on that. So, now I understand that you just saw this, so I won't go through it quickly, just to understand this gives you the context. I'm not going to go through the whole thing other than, 2012, 300 million photos are uploaded to Facebook every day. Every day. It's a lot of pictures. As a friend of mine from Sports Illustrated just said last month when he was here, that's a lot of garbage. He said, we're creating more pictures and more garbage than we ever have. He said, that everybody's a photographer now. Doesn't mean the pictures are better, it just means that there's more of them. Probably true. Now this is what's weird. Okay, how's Instagram? Billion photos on Instagram. My son loves Instagram. He has stuff all over it. He has he's like this little businessman. He's got all these things going in businesses on Instagram. So, okay, I'm going to be traditional now. I'm going to show you some pictures that I shot when I first got my cell phone. I thought, well, I'm going to start using this. And what I do when I teach cell phone photography is I try to teach it like I would teach basic photography. I try to teach it the same way. Yes, we talk about some of the apps and some of the captioning things, but we talk basically about using it as a tool. So here's a few pictures that I did. Oops. Now this is probably one of the more incredible ones to do with a cell phone. Remember Dora in Saving Nemo? She could talk whale. Wah, wah. Well, I could talk hawk. You know, I mean, I actually raised red-tailed hawks, so I was used to, and I was able to get pretty close to these guys. So I found him in black school. He's flying off with it, and but I shot it with my droid, and afterwards went. Here's another one I liked. I thought was pretty. It's a little tough to see on there, but it kind of has that backstage feel. It was during Halloween. One of my favorite ones was one of the first pictures I made with that camera. I just love this picture. This man's alone. He sits in the same spot. Every week he sits in the same spot because that's where he and his wife sat before she died. They went there for like 50 years. Thought it was, So it doesn't matter it doesn't matter if it's a phone or it doesn't matter. More recently, here comes the president, so I wanted to have a presidential picture on my droid. People were reacting to that. And so I could be a little bit more novel with giving my wife something for Valentine's Day. Not just because I forgot, because I didn't. I just was struggling about what I was going to do. So I made this for her. I shot this. I thought that was a nice feel. Put it on a card, sent it to her, and she was like, "Oh, that's different, you know? That's what it's supposed to be." You know? Okay, so here's a few pictures from my students in class. One of the assignments they have to do is self-portrait, which is always fun. This guy was fun. This is before smartphone, by the way. He did it with his phone. I actually might have borrowed some of his phone. This is some of their self-portraits. Okay, we're leaving the self-portraits, by the way, so you didn't get confused. Yes, sir. But still, probably saw this one on the wall out there. That's an incredible picture. I don't care what it was shot with. Now, let me give a quick example. I have a student that was she works at the radio station here, older student, and she said that she told me I'm going to be out. I'm going to miss class for 2 weeks. And I said, why? And she says, well, I have to go back to England because my brothers are getting a kidney transplant. And so I won't be able to do the assignments. I said, oh yeah, you'll be able to do the assignments, fine. She said, what do you mean? I said, I want you to do that as an assignment. I want you to go there and I want you to document what happens. It'll be good for you and it'll be good for them. If I've learned nothing else, I've learned this. When I do storytelling, the subjects heal and I heal. It's really important. People don't understand that. They think that they're taking something from somebody, that they're encroaching, and the fact is we really, as a human species, that's one of the ways we heal, we share. I'll tell you, I was so moved by what she did. We're only barely into the class, doesn't even hardly know how to use her phone. And yet, we talked, and once while she was there, I emailed her and said, here's kind of the order I want you to think about doing this thing. So she started off and did it. That's one brother getting ready. The brothers together. Now, those are predictable, right? It's easy. I take a picture of my brother, he's sitting in bed, he's getting ready to go on. He's looking at me. They're both looking at me. But now we've changed a little bit. Now we're in an environment where it's a little more tense. We have the doctor talking to people saying, this is what could happen, here are the complications that could happen, but here's what we're going to be doing. So now we're talking about stepping into a life and death situation that's very real. And now look at their faces. They're not just mugging the camera. They're going, okay, let's talk about what this means. And the wife, one of the wives, is actually, you can see that she's upset, she's crying. That my student had the courage to step into that space and to make those pictures, to me, it just excites me. That's why I love teaching. You love it when people do this. She understood. It was easier for her because she was family. So she had that advantage. Sometimes that's a disadvantage, quite frankly. As my wife's parents one time said to her, my wife's a very good photographer and has been a photographer for a long time. Her parents said, those pictures are so good, they're just like professional. And she's like, oh, pull my hair out. down. She did this and got in trouble because you're not supposed to have people's.
Oh.
But all was well. Right? So, isn't that cool? You know what she said afterwards? She said, I'm so thankful that you asked me to do that as an assignment. She said it made me look at this differently, and it made it easier for me to deal with it because it took a little while. I had a purpose in what I was doing there, and it really helped me, and it helped them, and now they have this. It ended up having a happy ending, so now they have this stuff to share. Isn't that cool? You can do that with your phone. You know the old joke people always say, I've got this great camera and it can make phone calls too, right? All right, so that's it. Any questions yet? So that's sort of the canned speech. Now, if you want, I'm gonna dive into like the more of the how-to. I want to see your face first. I gotta make sure you're awake here. Okay, 30-second reprieve. You can check your email, tell your boyfriend you love him, whatever you need to do. Questions about anything? Angry or you disagree? Say anything controversial? All right.
I especially agree with your comments about the downside of things because I haven't heard many professors here say that.
Well, because sometimes they have a vested interest.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why I'm in journalism. So, Bill, it makes it easy when you have your name on there. If we swap it, we'd get in trouble. Where are you from?
Can't.
I've heard of that.
It's not far.
Not very far away, is it?
Yeah.
I'm a California boy, you know. You can tell. Right?
No.
Oh. All right, so you still with me? What do you want to see? I'm going to give you a choice. You can see a quick PowerPoint on lighting, and I'll rate. How much time do I have, by the way? Anybody know?
You have until
11:15. I got 30 minutes. I can do it. I'm going to give you the very fast abridged, which your head's going to be spinning because you're going to be so smart, right? So smart will change your last name to Alec, right? All right. So you want to do composite? You know what? Then I'll do light first. I'm going to show you about light because light is the core, right? I have fun with light. I have fun with composition too. All right. Let's go back to this one here. That one. Do this one. Do that. All right. Number one. Look at that. Like a herd of canaries. We're already there. All right. Seeing light. I love light. Don't you? That's why I go to California twice a year so I can see it. Right? I love light. I love light so much that this was my kitchen in California. You see? One of those metaphors. The light of the word, right? Now, let me suggest this. That every picture has a star. Doesn't it? Now, in movies, that's sometimes true. Sometimes you'll have a movie that doesn't have any stars, but usually it's like, okay, I'm going to go see it because Harrison Ford's, is Branch Rickey, so I'm going to go see that movie, right? Somebody has a star. Photographs, if you start thinking about photographs like you think about people, you'll look at them differently. One of the things that I learned, one of the people who really taught me a lot about writing, and actually photography, was John Steinbeck. John Steinbeck would write in a way that the blades of grass were alive. They had feeling. And so I try to look at with photographs the same way. So I talk about them that same way. When I think about every picture having a star, when I look at the photograph, and people are going to show you a photograph, believe me, they show me a lot of them. They kind of go, oh, would you look at my picture? And it used to be, they would be a bunch of prints. Now they say, here, would you look at my picture? And they show me their cell phone, which is all right. What the hardest part is this was when I look at it and I don't know what to say. I'm like, ugh. So what I usually try to do is be nice, and I say, I like blue too, or something in the picture, because there's no point in it. I don't understand it. There is no star. Well, sometimes the picture has several stars. Let me show you a picture that I made last year in Israel, and it's honestly one of the pictures that I think is probably about as perfect of a photograph as I've ever made. And a great picture to teach. Do I think it's the most powerful? No, but when I start dissecting it as a teacher, I look at this and I say, it's an amazing picture. Look at the light. The light is beautiful. The light is the star. But wait a minute, look at the timing. His foot's not even touching the ground. It's an inch off. His hand's not touching over here. And look at how it's framed. And look at the dark and the light and the shape. And I'm thinking, that has a lot of good things going for it, doesn't it? Has all those things. So it has more than one star. This has more than one star too. Okay, now if a photograph doesn't have this, if it's void of these things, it usually is pretty boring. But often the star is light. This picture is not a picture if not for the light. That's how you determine that. If it wasn't for that rainbow, would you look at that and go, oh, what a lovely picture of houses on a hill, boring. You know? Finding interesting light. And this is what you do is you go on this search. If you walked in this room and I was assigned to photograph you, what would I do? I might use the light that bounced off of this screen to see Chris's face. There's a really interesting light on his face, right? Whereas if I looked over here, you're kind of in shadow. There's not any interesting light. So I would probably try to bring you over here and try to turn where I had some of this natural window light on me so that you would have some depth. So you find interesting light. Here's an example. I was in Colorado. My in-laws or family, they were all looking at some houses they were building there down by Stapleton. And I heard some pounding and I thought, ooh, look at that light, it's beautiful. Man, wouldn't it be nice if somebody walked right through that spot up there? That would be so cool because it would finish this. And so what you do is you kind of do the monk thing. You go, and you kind of start hoping that someone shows up. And guess what? Somebody does. Somebody shows up. They walk right into the light. And now we have a complete picture. We have something happening. You know what? I was hoping that would happen. I even anticipated it happening because I could hear them working. I didn't know they were going to walk in that exact spot. But I waited for that. I'll give you another example. I go into a gym in Tennessee. I see this beautiful patch of light and I think, ooh, wouldn't that be nice if somebody walked through that or some kid came playing in a basketball? So I waited and I waited and I waited and guess what? Here comes a kid running through the light.
Did you shoot all these with a cell phone?
No.
Okay.
These are not cell phone pictures.
Okay.
These are just pictures.
Got it.
But some of them in here are cell phone pictures. Now, here's it one more time. Here's a picture I saw. Here's a girl wearing something that looks like somebody's garden on her head. Right? I don't know what it is exactly, but she's making this mask and it's in this thing, and I look at it and I think, okay, that's pretty cool, but then I see this shaft of light. There's like, I don't know what they call it, skylight, I guess. There's this shaft of light, and I thought, ooh, what if she walks through that shaft of light? And you start going, and guess what she did? And I exposed for the shaft of light, and that's what it looked like. Now, isn't this better? I think it is. Okay, here's the thing that you're going to remember the rest of your life. People never forget this. 2 things that you remember about light that will make you a better photographer. I don't care what you're using. Forever, you need to remember these. When it comes from behind your subject, it reveals shape. The direction of light, when it comes from behind your subject, let me prove the point. Now, probably get somebody that had better shape, but you get the idea. If you want to see my shape, put the light from behind me. Show me the shape. I'm going to prove that. Now, light coming from behind, it's silhouetted. It shows the shape of the object. Right? See the light here? Coming from behind to show the shape. Now, when you do front light, and people always do this, they say, oh, let's just get that front light right on here. Let's get Mr. Sun behind my back and make sure that you're squinting, and then we'll take a picture of you, right? Well, the fact is, front light is pretty boring for the most part because it doesn't have any definition. This is so funny because I was in Idaho and I was explaining this to a photographer friend of mine. I said, it's such an easy concept. And I reached up and I said, here's this big tree. I just yanked a leaf off and said, let me prove it to you. And so I pulled the leaf off and said, look at this light. Now look at it when it's backlit. Now I can see its shape. Now I can see the veins going through it. So light comes from behind, shows shape. That's the first thing you remember. The second thing you're going to remember is when light comes from the side. Okay, this is the audience participation part. When light comes from the side, what does it do? Anybody know? What does it do?
Throw shadows.
It shows, ooh, you're right. It could throw shadows. and it was going to reveal texture. If it was my job to photograph this clothing right here, I wouldn't front light it. I would side light it so I could see every fabric, every little dip in there. When light comes from the sign, it shows texture. You know what people do? They go to the canyon, or they go to like Death Valley, or they go to Zion Park, and they go, "Come on, Martha, we got to get out there and get some pictures, but you know, we can do it by noon, it'll be all right, you go ahead and sleep in, you know, right?" And they get out there and the sun's on top of them, and it's boring, and it's ugly, and they go, "Oh, this is not as pretty as I saw it on the postcards." Well, guess what? You have to get up before the crack of noon, and you got to get out there, and you got to watch when that light first comes up, it rakes across the valley, it gives you texture, right? Here's some characteristics. Now, by the way, we talk about photographs. Light has personality, just like people. Just like people, light can be hard or it can be sharp. We know that, don't we? Everybody here's probably met someone, you say, "Good morning," and they go, "What's so good about it? How you doing?" Living the dream, you know, and they're just all the time. Sharp about everything. Light is the same way. Sometimes it's very sharp, and in this case, it's sharp but has very distinct shadows. That's a characteristic. This is B.B. King when he was under 400 pounds. Light straight down on him. See how sharp the light is? Now here's some soft light. No distinct shadows. It's diffused. It's bouncing off walls. Soft light. Warm light. One of my sons. Very warm light. Cold light. Artificial light. See? We added some light. More artificial light. This is what happens when you have people on their backlit and it's dark. And you need to add artificial light so you can see their faces. Now we combine ambient and artificial light. And here's some fill light. Photographed a young woman in Denver for a TV project here. And this is what happens. Someone stands in there and they go, "Oh, let's take a picture of this young lady." And then you kind of go, "Oh, guess what? My camera said I had enough light. My camera said it was exposed okay. What happened?" Well, because your camera was going, "Oh, nice building, nice sky, nice building over here. But what about the subject in the middle here?" So you have to compensate and say, "Well, guess what? If I add a little bit of flash into that, now I can see who she is." So using flash on bright sunlight is a good idea. The direction of light, early morning. Strong direction. John Denver, well, that guy could sing too, I'm telling you. Okay, now here's another thing that you gotta remember. Consider the time of day. Because an hour or two can make all the difference in the world. So let me show you, these are not good pictures, and I always qualify this unless somebody thinks I think they're good, they're not. I shoot these to teach. Here's a picture of an old scraggly tree, and it's, you know, okay, it doesn't look like anything. It's all front lit. This is about 9 o'clock. But if you shot the same picture at 8:30, it looked like this. Before the light came all the way, it's backlit now. The light's on the hills, and therefore I can see its shape, and it's dark. Here's another example. Here's Mount Rushmore. Overcast, you know, it's kind of an Ohio day. You wait till the sun comes up, and it's really early. Best example I have, best two examples. Here is the Capitol in Denver. What time do you think this is? I don't know why I always think about some woman named Martha. Whenever I think about a couple that go there, because you always see them, they have like the Bermuda shorts on, they got got one of those RVs, and they got little dogs and stuff, and they get out and they go, "Oh, we're gonna go see the Capitol in Denver," and they get up real late, and they show up there and they go, "Ooh, that light's kind of ugly," because that's about noon. That's what happens if you sleep late. But if you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, it looks like this. And if you get up at 7, it looks like this. And if you wait around until 5 or 6, it looks like this. So the time of day means everything, doesn't it? Now, here's one of my favorite examples. I tell students sometimes, when you have to go take a picture of something which doesn't seem to be very important, think about National Geographic calling you up and saying, "You know, there's this little tree on a hill. It's a very important tree. We need a picture of that tree. Can you make a picture of the tree?" You probably wouldn't go out there and roll down the window and do a drive-by. You would probably think, "What's a good time to go do this?" you probably wouldn't do this. Here's the tree, but you know, okay, there's a decent shape, and I can see his shape, and the tree's there. But you know what, if I just waited, this is the same day toward evening. There's the same picture. Same tree, same place, different time of day. That is what I have to say about light. That's about as fast as I've ever done that. I can't even talk faster than that. Okay, wanna go one more?
Yeah.
Okay, looks like we're gonna have time for one more. So we can either do timing or we can do composition. What do you feel like is more important to you?
Composition.
Yeah, okay. I have more fun with composition, to tell you the truth. It's good. I get to disagree with everybody in composition. I'm a maverick, that's why. Here we go. Composition. Who can give me a definition for composition? Anybody in here? It's dark. They can't see your face, so don't be afraid. Anybody? What is composition?
What's in a picture?
True. What's in a picture? Yes?
Sweet.
The way it's set up.
The way it's set up, we're getting warm. There's a word I love. Two words, I think. Organization, arrangement. When you think of composition, you say, I'm going to go write this musical score. It's like, boom, 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 boom. You're going to start putting a lot of things together. You're going to do an arrangement. So what is composition? It's the way that you arrange elements in the space. And you know what? It's interesting. People don't think about this. It is your choice. It's your choice. It's the way that you arrange things. Not the way some book tells you, not the way your teacher tells you, not the way your mother-in-law tells you, the way that you do it. Is this a great picture? No. Guess what? That's the way I wanted to arrange it. That's the way it looked. If I took a picture of that picture on the wall, that would be plagiarism. I didn't paint that picture. I didn't even put up that wallpaper. I have no right to just take a picture and say and put my name on it. But if I take somebody else's artwork and then I make it my own artwork, I can do my own creation, my own organization, now I have something. That's my choice of how I wanted to arrange that thing. There's another choice that I made. I saw the color. I saw the shape. I saw the time. That's my composition. Someone said, well, shouldn't he be right in the middle of the frame? That's your choice, not me. I like pictures where somebody is going somewhere or they've already been somewhere. Here's another one. Foreground, background. That's a choice of composition. Choice of composition. You wait. You watch the moment. You hope it's going to happen. Here's the most important thing I can tell you. That you're the composer, and you decide how things are going to be arranged. Arnold Newman chose to arrange this picture this way. A lot of negative space, small subject, good shapes, tones. Here's an example. This is back in my era when they had brown power and there was all kind of stuff that was cool in California, right? So this guy's trying to ride with the big boys here. But if you choose to do it horizontally, do you choose to have this whole picture? Do you want everything in there? Take this chair, get out of my way. All right. So I can do that, or I can do this. I can lop these guys off the right side. Or I can choose to do this. Or I can choose to do this. There's not one right way in this picture. It is your choice, how you decide you want to do it. Here we go. This is the boring picture. Here's President Carter standing in front of the podium, ho-hum. Or you can back off and say, you know what, it's not what he's doing, it's where he's doing it. Here is what he's doing, here's where he's doing it. And unlike, painting, photography is the art of subtraction. I'm not sitting back with the canvas and throwing mud on it. I'm taking the whole world and I'm going to lop this off and lop this off and I'm going to change this angle and I'm going to look at this. So here we go. Here is the big canvas. Isn't that a nice picture? No. Doesn't have a focal point. It's boring, right? So I decided to go closer. I'm cutting back a little bit, right? I'm going closer. Subtraction. Once again, remember this, what's the most important lesson? People, I'm telling you, they would probably tar and feather me and run me out of town. Everybody that has a PhD in art's going to say, this guy has no right to say that. That's not true. And you know what? They would be wrong. Because you are an individual. And the way that you look at life is different than the way that somebody else likes. Depending on what's happening in your background, depends how tall you are, depends on what you just got done eating. There's a lot of things that are going to go into how you look at the world. So, I think it's a matter of choice. This idea of the rule of thirds, I always tell people, I think it come out of Germany or something like, oh, that's our rule of thirds, you got to do it this way, it's got to be this. I don't like that. That's the rule of thirds. Isn't that exciting? No. I prefer the golden ratio, which is the same thing, just said differently. Here's one of those rules. Never photograph someone from the back. Have you ever heard that? I've heard of teachers that gave their students an F because they took a picture of somebody from the back. How dare they do that? I happen to think one of the best pictures ever made was from the back of Babe Ruth. Here's a picture I shot from the back. People are aghast. You cut his head off. You're showing that to people, you cut his head off? And I say, I didn't want his head. His head wasn't interesting. His bridges were interesting. His legs were interesting. The colors were interesting. His head wasn't interesting. So I just lopped it off. So what? Here's another one. Always have the sun on your back. Guess what? Doesn't look very good with the sun on my back. One is I'd be off the edge of a cliff. Two is you wouldn't see the city and it would be Sutherland. They'd say, well, what is that? I said, I don't know, it's landscape. I thought it was interesting, right? It looks like a Shar-Pei. I don't know, but it's interesting. Here's another one. Do not put your subject in the middle of the frame. I hear that all the time. You know what? People that teach this stuff, they work at camera stores, they've never done what they're teaching. They hear it, they read it in a book. Go out and do this. It doesn't work unless you're living out there. It's not a reality. I hate it when teachers teach things they don't know what they're doing. Okay. Here she is in the middle of the frame. Guess what? She jumped in the middle of the frame and she didn't move. So what? I like her in the middle of the frame. She's a perfect spot. Is it wrong? No. Just where she is. Happen the way I like to look at it. Happen to think this is nice in the middle of the frame. So, here's a few tips to make more interesting compositions. Get closer. You know, Pittsburgh, you got the big day, got a lot of wires, that's okay, but maybe if you got closer, you can see the couple, how happy they really are. Right? They're golden. Get close enough, you can smell the dog's breath. There's a time to get close. I got to tell you, I got to stop just to tell you this. I remember going to a conference once, and this very famous yearbook designer, everybody just like, oh, when he walked in, I thought, well, where's his robe, you know? And he gets up and goes, oh, any sports photo has to have a ball in it. I about gagged. I thought the best sports photos I've ever seen didn't have a ball in it. And I thought, you know, there's no ball in this picture because I didn't want a ball in the picture because it wasn't about a ball. It was about a face. It was about the texture of this thing, of the iron. It wasn't about a ball. The guy was an idiot when it came to that. There's a time to back off and show environment and capture mood. Sometimes you need some space around there. You ask yourself, is it what somebody's doing that's interesting? Or is it where they're doing it? Sometimes it's both. People say, that's not a very good picture. You have all that wasted space in there. I say, you don't understand. It's about childhood. It's about wonder. Negative space gives you wonder. You show mood by tone and by space. So, is it this angle or is it tighter? Is it where? Is it what? Your choice. Perhaps it's both. You got to watch the backgrounds because they can be your friend. Isn't that a cool background? That took me a long time to wait for that to happen. Well, they can be pests. You have to watch them. Even the monkey wants to get into it. So try changing angles because things look different from above. I don't have time to tell you that. It's a great story. But sometimes you have to get above something to see it, to understand it, to feel it. And you shoot from below because it gives you a different perspective. That's a big pumpkin. Right. All right, okay, I'm going to have to stop because we're going to run out of time. It's already 11:10. Plus, I'm going to have a cool discussion. Yeah. All right. We can do more later anyway. All right, so you got a good taste. Didn't I tell you I was gonna fill the bucket? A lot to think about, isn't there? Make you wanna take a cell phone class? Yeah, we offer them. We'll go over some of the same stuff when we do it. By the way, this is not meant to be a commercial announcement other than to be a service. I always bring books with me because people ask. I don't have a lot of them. I have 3 or 4 or 5 of them. If you're interested, this one is called, I don't want to know all the technical stuff, I just want to take pictures. It was about those concepts. I wanted to design something that was for the amateur, and they were only $10. Because the whole idea was to get them in the hands of people that weren't professionals. This one is more, this is more what people call sometimes the photo Bible thing, in that it's more about storytelling and finding stories and that kind of thing. And those are $20. Don't care if you buy them, but they're offered. All right. Elizabeth, it's always somebody easy when you have your name tag in there, unless you wear somebody else's. If you and Tom switched, I would have trouble. So you don't even look like Tom. So how do you feel?
You know, a lot of times I'm in the situation where I have to take things that are incredibly boring.
Yep.
Like so-and-so, you know, it's somebody speaking, but
Right.
there's not a cool background like you had with Jimmy Carter, or there's a group and it just looks, ugh. What are some hints to make that
I would give you an acronym to remember forever on those situations, and that it is called BAD. BAD. Remember BAD. BAD is before the event, and it's after the event, and it's during the event. The best speaker pictures are before the event and after the event. It's when somebody's in the men's room practicing. It's when somebody is nervous and they're going to Starbucks and gulping 6 cups of coffee because they're nervous, or they're praying before they go on. Or it's afterwards when everybody comes up and wants to touch them and sign them, or, you know, those are the best speaker pictures. The picture, the record picture, the during picture, all you can do is try to change angles and hope there's some kind of emotion. You know, if you watch the press conferences, all the photographers in the pool, you know, the president will be standing there and it'll be silent. He'll scratch his ear. Everybody shoots, you know, because look, there was a movement. I had something, right? Isn't that true? So you're either waiting for movement, but usually I would tell you before and after is going to make the best picture of the speaker. And it's the most candid, the most real picture. That's what I don't see enough of. Hope that helps a little bit. All right. You all have done well to stay awake. You have my permission to turn your cell phones on, ride home, tweet, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you like to do. You know, if you tweet, be nice, right? Thank you.